Yeah, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day, whatever time you're watching this video and where you're watching it from. We have been talking on uh, starting up a business. We have studied or we talked on being able to write a business plan, and I also did a follow up as to why some people might think that writing a business plan is not necessary, but it's actually very necessary. There's a video that I uploaded that attests to that, giving reasons. So today we are going to do episode 7. Now, what is episode 7 about? Episode 7 will focus solely on trying to let business owners know how to assess their finances. So episode 7 will talk about assessment of finances before startup. And this I will break into two. So episode 7 and 8 will be talking only about assessing finance because this is the key. This is where you are there. Either you are going to be working on a loss or you are going to be working on a profit. Or you are going to be working on an interest. You are making profit. You have a quick break-even point. So what is that all about? When you write your plan and you have all these things carved out for you by yourself, then you need to start thinking of, am I going to be the sole funder of the business? Am I going to fund this business by alone? Do I need someone to help fund the business? How am I going to raise the money, and how is this money in turn going to make me interest or profit? How profitable is this business going to be? So how do you assess your finances? You start by taking steps to perform what we call a break-even analysis. Now, most people they go into business without thinking about this particular point. It's absolutely very important that you know your break-even point. Now, that said, one way to determine your break-even point is very simple. There's a formula for that. So when you plan your business and you determine the break-even point, you will be able to know from that maybe what kind of product or service are you going to be offering that will be most profitable for you. Now, what is that formula? The formula is fixed cost. Let me say it again. Fixed cost divided by average price minus variable costs. And your answer is your break-even point. What does that mean? Total fixed cost that you put into the business, then your average price literally should be what it entails, what the business, the actual selling, the actual pricing, the whole cost of selling, the price of the business. And when that is done, you minus variable cost might be labor, might be other costs incurred on the way. Then when that is done, then what is left to you, you will be able to determine if you are working on a loss or you are making some profit, which means when you take the fixed cost money you put in, then after selling everything or probably just doing the sale of the product, then you look at after costing yourself for your labor or whatever, or employees if you have one, paying your rent, doing all this variable costing. At the end of the day, if you are not working on a loss, it means that you are at your break-even point and you might be making a little profit on that. Then it means you would know if that business, if you engage into that business, is going to be profitable. That said, every entrepreneur must try to know this formula. You must know it. You should know it. You should know it, and you should be able to focus on trying to do or get a clear break-even data analysis before engaging into your startup. That said, um, there are some common reasons that I will give you to defend why I insist you always do this break-even point analysis before actually getting into starting up your business. One, it helps you to determine profitability. Now, this generally every business owner's highest interest. That is something we need, right? To be profitable in our business that we are doing. So if you don't get that clear, what kind of business are you engaging in? How sure, how confident are you that it's going to be profitable, right? So that's one. So what do? You ask yourself, how much revenue do you need, or do I need to generate to cover all my expenses in the business? Expenses. You must ask yourself that. Then, as you do, think about your competitors. How are they operating? What are they costing? Or what are they pricing their own products? You have to make that comparison. You have to know it so that your budget or your total fixed cost or your investment, total investment cost should be determined. Looking at if you buy the product and you want to sell, and you sell like your competitors are doing, you are not going to be working on a loss, but you should be able to get a break-even point and even making some marginal profit from it. Then ask yourself again, what are your fixed costs or rates? What are your variable costs, including what? Labor, including physical goods to be sold, or some maybe sometimes we have to incur some little losses just to make sure that we would be a good clientele. For example, you can decide to put some a little money into gift card to get people go and come back because you are doing something that your competitors are not doing. You should ask yourself, how can you reduce your overall fixed costs? How can you reduce your variable costs per unit? For example, if your business allows you to only employ one employee, then don't go employing two people because your variable or your total cost is going to be more than what you anticipated. Then what will happen is, without a huge improvement in sales and business expansion, your break-even point will be far. It might not be near. It might be very far and might be very discouraging. Then another thing that you must watch out for, very critical, you must watch out for, is your expenses. Now remember, all what we have been saying, these are not your expenses. These are all in running, and it all will fall in the management of that business that you are building. Now, this doesn't have to do with your expenses. Because all of that is costed in your fixed cost. Then when all of it is affected and everything is done, then you check to see, using your break-even point analysis, to see if you are on a loss or making some profit. Now, don't overspend. Sometime on starting a business, you don't have to overspend your own personal. Maybe you're running around chasing things, going on and spending money that you should have been putting into the business. Purchasing or renting huge buildings or huge offices, equipping everywhere, spending money on equipment. No, don't do that. You don't have to do that. You have to monitor your expenses and ensure that you are starting and staying on track. Now, some people will also say you should also pay attention to the lease that you make on the property or on the site on which your business is going to be operating. For example, if you are making a lease on a market structure where you'll be able to host your business, you should be able to make, you should also look at the type of business that you're doing, and is your budget between or in between or along the line of not, instead of actually getting the money into the business, you are putting the money but into the structure. Now, what will happen is that people will come for business, but they don't see business. They just see an empty, fancy office. You have to think about these. This must be primordial in your calculus. You will not go and hire or rent a very luxurious structure and establish a business in. You have to think about your competitors, those who are already there, those who are already operating. How much are they making? What is their lease costing them every month or annually? What is the rate of turnover in that location? If you put in all this money, and after running the business maybe for months or on a quarter of a year or half a year, then you try to do some calculus to see if by the end of the year or annually you're going to be hitting a break-even point. The point is that break-even points sometimes don't just come soon. It takes time. And sometimes we tend to advise people to put in a little more to get a good break-even point when the time comes. But in this case, since you are starting up, you really have to watch and make sure that your break-even point is determined and is correctly determined, and your fixed costs, your variable costs, and other costs are not so flamboyant that it will deter a smooth operation of your business when you choose to start. I will leave that here for today. And episode 8, we will talk about assessing finances, but in this case, you should be able to consider funding options. Consider funding options. There are several of them, like the business loans, like business grants, like these are state grants, investors, crowdfunding. These are different other options that you can choose. We will be talking detailedly about these options on how to consider or assess your finances before actually starting up your business. So guys, don't forget, we will be going live. We'll be starting our live shows on July 1st, and we'll be running the shows on West African time. I'll communicate that. And so have a nice day, enjoy yourself, and I hope that these videos are really helping you rethink and readjust your business ideas and plans. Thank you and have a wonderful time.